As we continue our series of video podcasts providing information to Latino parents to empower them to help their children in schools, I have the pleasure to introduce today a wonderful colleague and professional, Dr. Marcia Pita. Dr. Pita is a school psychologist who works at the school district of Hillsborough, one of the best known, I should say, Latino professionals in the district. Welcome, Dr. Pita.
Thank you, Carlos.
Question to you. Many times we talk about school psychologists, but parents ask me, what is a school psychologist? What do they do? So educate us, help us understand what school psychologists do in schools.
Okay. School psychologists do a lot of different things. First off, school psychologists go to school specifically to become a school psychologist. They have at least a specialist in education, which is above a bachelor's and into that master's range. And they are certified by the state of Florida, or the state that they're in, by the Department of Education to work in schools. And they are trained both in psychology and education, and they work very hard at trying to come up with strategies to help kids learn, to improve socially, emotionally, and behaviorally.
Wonderful. Now, when you say improve behaviorally, emotionally, and socially, what are the most typical type of problems that a school psychology can help with?
Children that are having problems attending in class, so they're having a hard time trying to understand what the material is. They're falling behind in their academics, so that they need some extra assistance in terms of whether finding some specific programs that can really address what their delays are. You know, for example, if they have problems in math, they can help with the math teacher in figuring out, okay, these are the issues specific to the math that the child has, and these are the strategies that have been shown to work with that child, with that type of problem.
Very good.
If a child is having problems socially, they're not relating well to their peers, to the other kids in the class, they're having problems making friends, the kids in the school are kind of pushing them away, being able to sit down and talk to them, counsel them, teach them social skills, figure out exactly what it is that's preventing that child from relating to those other children.
Wonderful. So in doing this, you as a school psychologist work closely with the school administrators and also the teachers?
Correct. Mm-hmm. And as well as the parents. We try as much as possible to work with the parents, because one thing you find is that the strategies and what works for many kids in school, if we can continue those same strategies at home, it makes it much easier to transition. Kids end up learning the stuff faster, and also it makes it very consistent. Kids that have things that are the same across the board tend to do a lot better.
Very good. Now, you mentioned working with the parents, which is of utmost importance for our video podcast content. Now, what kind of advice would you have, for example, for Latino parents, in order to help them help their own children succeed in schools?
The major thing, I think, with the Latino parents is to spend a lot of time talking to your children. Talk to them about what they're doing, talk to them about what's going on in school, talk to them about their assignments. Even if they don't speak English, talking to them is important, because by talking to them you build language. And when we build language, it's easier to build the words that go in English with what you're teaching them than starting from scratch. If you're not sure about something, go to the school. The school needs to find somebody that speaks the language. But a lot of contact between the parent and the teacher really knowing what is going on in your child's world.
Now, as I hear you, I picture in my mind that school psychologists also advocate for children.
Correct. Very much so.
And in that sense, what would you say are the number one elements that you have been called upon to advocate for Latino children in regard to the school system?
In the major ones, for some of the ones that come to mind really quickly, are children that the school doesn't realize that maybe these children haven't gone to school for as long as the systems thinks they have, so they assume that a child is 5th grade, he should be able to do X, Y, and Z, and he's not able to do X, Y, and Z because he hasn't been trained to do that. So being able to talk to the child and realize what they've got, what kind of work they've been trained in, and be able to sit down with the teacher and the administration and say, he hasn't learned this, okay? And in order to teach him this, we need to do A, B, and C. Or, where there's not a clear idea of what happened. Sometimes it's almost like, even if it happens in English, it's almost like being a translator, between the family, the child, and the administration.
I see. Now, in that respect also, when you see yourself as a school psychologist and you think, what can I tell the parents to facilitate their working with us? How can they reach the school psychologist, and when is most appropriate to do so?
You can reach the school psychologist by contacting the school. All schools have a psychologist. They may not be a bilingual psychologist because there is a smaller number of bilingual psychologists working, but all of them have a psychologist who's very willing to talk to parents or find somebody that can talk to the parents. So calling the schools, asking to speak to the school psychologist, that would be a good resource if your child is having, some learning problems. You see them falling back on the grades. You see that they're sad. They're having some problems with friends at school. There's something that's happened in the family that's been very difficult to deal with, and that may be influencing the child in school. Then those are times to call the psychologist.
Very good. Now, if we cannot, as a parent, for example, if I cannot find a bilingual school psychologist in my children's school or in my child's school, is there a place that I can contact? Is there a resource outside the school but still within the school system that you can reach out to?
As I said, there are bilingual school psychologists in the county in Hillsborough County, and they would be housed at the Velasco Student Services Center.
Velasco Student Service.
And that would be 273-7000.
273-7000.
Correct. And they would find the bilingual psychologist that has your child's school assigned. Because they divided the schools between the psychologists that they have, which is approximately, they are 10. There's approximately 20 of us that work in the school district that are bilingual.
Only 20 for this, which is one of the 10, 15 largest school districts in the country?
We are the 9th largest school district.
The 9th. Very good. And just a small number of bilingual.
A small number.
So we know where the parents can go, and we know that the schools will do an effort or will make an effort to provide a bilingual counselor, in this case a bilingual school psychologist.
If they would provide a bilingual school psychologist, in particular if we are working at doing a psychological evaluation.
I see. Tell us about what do you mean by psychological evaluation?
If we have a child who the school is saying that they're having learning problems, and they've tried a whole series of different types of interventions that they call. Basically, it's different strategies to work with that child in those particular difficulties and problems. And if they see that those aren't working, they're saying something else is going on. We need to look and see what kind of problems are there. That they're looking at the possibility of maybe it's some type of learning disability. So at that point, they will request an evaluation. If the youngster is Spanish dominant or Spanish speaking, and that's the primary language, they would request a bilingual psychologist to be the person who does the evaluation. Okay. If it is, in terms of something that's going on in the school psychologist at the school, regardless of whether they speak Spanish or not, would be your first line of start. Okay, because they can find someone in the school to assist, or they can call the bilingual psychologist and say, I've got this situation, is it possible that you can come and help me consult here?
Very good, very good. Is there anything else that I should have asked you and I didn't, that you would like to add?
I don't think so. I think the major thing is that parents need to be actively involved. Don't assume that the school knows the best thing for their child. They are just as important a part of their child's education, and they should step up. And if they've got any questions on how to do that, school psychologists will be very, very willing to help.
Wonderful. You heard it here, but in addition to that, Dr. Peter help us learn about information you can get from other places, like, for example, the National Association of School Psychologists, and they have a section of their website dedicated to parents and families. So we're going to put that link on the screen for your information. And Dr. Peter, thank you so much for sharing with us all this important information.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Take care.